Hey, we are living in a very scary time, and I'm trying to make one video that will address what I was told in the afterlife so that I can take away people's fear from the happenings in the world right now, to let people know that Hashem, God, the Creator, He is the one in control, even when bad things are happening. The message that we're being fed from the media is fear mongering. And the one thing that I learned in the life after was just how explicitly we can trust Hashem and how there is nothing to fear. If you're not familiar with the word Hashem, it's the word that takes the place of the name, the four-letter tetragrammaton that the Kingdom Hall pronounces that you're not supposed to pronounce because it's disrespectful. So Hashem is the name that we use instead of that name. I do want to talk about religion. In America, we're taught don't talk about religion. We're gonna, and hopefully you'll take a listen, because I'm not here to toot Elizabeth Pride's horn. I'm here to share with you what I heard, that I have researched God for a long time, at least 30 years now. And I never really expected to meet him in the afterlife and be told things in 2010 that I wouldn't recall or be allowed to remember until the year 2020, when we all went on COVID lockdown. Welcome to Michigan. Isn't it beautiful? Michigan. Elizabeth, nice to meet you. Listen, there is so much Prince media out there. I'm glad that you found your way to my channel, because during my life after death experience in 2010, I died from a heroin overdose, July 20th, 2010. And when I did, I met Prince as God, as someone who showed me that he was the Ancient One, that he transformed in various ways. He told me about the contracts that were signed, why he worked in the music industry as Prince Rogers Nelson. He taught me about, showed me hell. I glimpsed hell in my afterlife. And we also talked about the plan for redemption. And I was given my soul purpose. Now, one of the main things that was impressed upon me when I was in the life after, that it was not my time to be there, that they said, no, it's not your time. But it was the Creator who had brought me there at that specific time in 2010 to explain to me about his life, because his physical life, the way I remember it, was ending, and that was due to AIDS. That was because they had done experiments and various things on him. The contract that he had with the industry was going to run out before, well, he was going to not be able to fulfill it because of his demise in that way. And what he told me when he brought me there was that we were of one soul, and he had always been with me, able to hear me. And I was never supposed to know this story about my soul. I know it sounds trippy. I'm not crazy. You have to go slow. You have to be patient. He told me that we were connected from the very beginning, as Adam and Eve, as one soul. And then as we go through various reincarnations through our lifetimes, that we also had reincarnated in that way. Now, if you followed the Prince career, you know that when he married Maite, he would recollect memories of, I think she was my sister in a former life, or something to that effect. And this very much goes along with that. It's not just Elizabeth's fantasy. So I was there, and they told me that I was not supposed to be there at that time, and that I had to come back to Earth, that I had to come back because I was part of this end game plan. Like, I had to be in this world at this time to tell this world about who and what Prince is, and because the world is about to, like, explode the biggest lie on him. But my main point is that when he told me that grand, disgusting, evil versus good plan in this world was somehow to call him like an antichrist to the Christian Bible, and and show him doing bad things. Like, the media can say anything they want, like what they're doing to Diddy right now. You don't know if that, who's running that. Just one man, please. That's like one man taking the fall for a whole industry. And hopefully they're all going to go down with him. But what I'm saying is, this might be one of those things that where as the industry starts to fall and the government and various individuals get exposed, that somehow it points back to him in that way. He showed me that our world is just, it's an illusion. It's an illusion of physicality to detach us from our souls. His nature, his true nature, has been hidden and disguised in this world because we, as those reincarnated souls, have agreed to make our way back to him through our trials and tribulations. My whole life was laid out. Holy books, Hebrew letters, life plan. I was in heaven's court. I answered for things. I was judged, and I do believe that judgment was rendered in a way that, like, I probably could have stayed in that heavenly place, but the Creator needed me there in the afterlife on July 20th, 2010, to tell me that we were one soul, so that he could expose what happened at Paisley Park and how deep and dark and occult the cover is. Because as one soul, he knew I would recognize his soul in soul form. And in fact, I did recognize him in soul form. I've told the story before that the very first thing that I saw was just, I was in space. It was like space place. And a door opened and there was Prince. And I said, "Oh, I didn't know it was you." And I knew I was dead. And he said, "Yeah, that's what everybody says." And he shrugged his shoulders and he turned around and walked away. And then I was in this other place where some of these people were telling me, spirits, angels, whatever they were, guides, telling me that I wasn't supposed to be there at that time, because this is the thing, everybody truly does have a number. When they say your number's up, your number's up. And they knew that I wasn't supposed to be there at this time, so there was like this big, huge discussion. And as we were discussing why I was there and that I didn't kill myself, because they inquired if I killed myself, and then as I was standing there talking to them, this soul went by, and my soul was like magnetized to this soul, and it was just a soul, and I recognized it as that of Prince. And when I was like, "Hey, why is Prince going towards hell?" Because the way that he was going, he was like in a chain gang, you know. If look at any old-fashioned movie, chain gang, they were like a chain gang of souls going towards hell. And when I asked why Prince was going towards hell, they didn't want to tell me, and they were really surprised that me, Elizabeth Pride, lowly girl from America, could recognize him as that soul. And they kept telling me I had to come back. And I said, no, I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's up with Prince. Like, why is he going that way? And because, honestly, you guys, it's humbling. And they told me that I was important and that I had to come back to expose these things. And then, so because I was important and had to come back, they let the Prince soul out of the line. And then we walked and talked, and he looked as Prince for a while. And I also saw him, and these are different points during the life after, but we walked and talked, and he looked as Prince. And then he showed me my holy life books. Everything was holographic. He told me that contract, that I was there, he made sure I was there at that time, orchestrated my overdose and everything. As the creator, he runs everything, to be there so I could find out that we were one soul and maybe fulfill this contract. And I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, and so he showed me a lot of things. Sorry, it's difficult to talk about. The world that we live in America, is like, you know, you get a snow cone thing from the ice cream truck, and there's that ice cream ball, the ball of gum at the bottom. The world in America, we're like this, the ball at the bottom, and everything that comes into the cone is planned. It's dark, it's occult, it's Luciferian, the religions, the government, the schools, the universities, the education system, the sex trafficking, the ones that are going to fall hard and fall fast. It's upside down. The world that we're in is upside down. So when I say, yeah, I met Prince as God, and you're like, you're crazy, I'm like, you're crazy because you have the wrong image of God. And then they say, well, nobody can meet God and stay alive. Well, Moses did. He used his nation, his people, the Israelites, as a nation to introduce him and understand his power throughout these generations. And I was told that somehow I was like way far down. I mean, like so far down, I don't even know, because I've never known my genealogy, because my dad doesn't know his dad. But I do believe my maternal side has some people from the province of Posen in Prussia, and they could be Jewish. I don't remember the whole thing, but they told me that I was this important soul and I had this mission to complete, and that people are not supposed to know their soul purposes and then come back to this place. But because on July 20th, 2010, there's a lyric that says, in France, a skinny man died of a big disease with a little name. Yes, I mentioned AIDS earlier, and I wouldn't do that unless I recalled it, because I was like, oh man. He's like, yeah, they got you, because they did a lot of experiments on him, MK Ultra and otherwise, and that's why. And he needed time to regenerate, because as I mentioned, I saw him in his throne chair as God, as the Ancient One. I even tried to approach that throne chair, and these protectors stepped forward, and you don't move. It's like I stuttered when I was there. I stuttered. When you realize his love and greatness and how he gifted that love and greatness to us, on each one of us on the inside, it's just all this love that radiates from him, and you feel magnetized to him. And some might even say, especially the Luciferians, might even say in an orgasmic way, because that's what contractually they used him, not only as a musician, but in other ways. There was great torture. It's why he was called the Scream Machine. Please watch those individual videos. The torture, because of who he is, he was made to place it into the music as the underlying track. So when you go back and you listen to all the screaming and single it out, you'll hear what I mean. I have videos about it. Torture, because torture is part of the word Torah, and he was tortured for telling the truth. How lyrically, his lyrics are scriptural, biblical. The whole 40 years I listened to the music, I was led to read my Bible even further. I have deep writings about it. I haven't quite figured out how to share them unless you want to read my Google Docs, and if so, let me know. I'm happy to share, because sharing is caring, and that's why I've received this information, because I've always been a sharer and a teacher and a nurturer and a lover and a very kind soul. And during the last 40 years of listening to Prince, I knew that my life was wrapped up somehow in the music, and I told my family about the death prior to the death. I've said that someday I had to do something with all the knowledge, but really and truly hearing that that's your purpose in the afterlife is mind-blowing. So that's why I have the bravery to come here and talk about all this, both religious and Prince subject matter together, because it's the truth. And right now in the world, all that exists in this dark place at the bottom of the gumball is darkness. And when I was shown in the heavenlies and we looked down on the earth and Hashem showed me how very dark it was, like the movie Pitch Black. And it's up to us as people to realize who we are with Hashem as holy souls and pray to Him to bring light into the world. Because if you knew how much your prayer, how much light, where is that light? Just like that light up there. Your prayers bring light into the world. And prayers just need to be honest and open and truthful. And Hashem likes to know your real self, so you got to be real. Just like Cheryl Lynn, the singers, they got to be real. So no matter how weird what I'm saying sounds, the truth is going to bring light into the world just like that, just like the prayers. So if you guys realized how much I've lost in my life and how much has been taken from me and how alone I have been in this thing we call life, and the Prince music was like all I ever had, and it was all explained to me in the life after that things were taken away from me systematically in a way that I would cling even more to the Creator. And it was explained to me that even when bad things happen in the world, that we have to understand as people that those bad things could be way, way worse. And it's in the world from up above is so huge that the things that we see as grand, I mean, as big as this hurricane is, it's when you see it from the heavenlies, it's just very small. And sometimes things have to happen in generations to make the people wake up and realize that they do need to pray and that they need to understand who the Creator is and come back to Him. And what I learned about religion as far as that is concerned is when I was a practicing Christian, I didn't really ever understand Israel, and I thought Jewish people, I never really thought anybody thought they were any better except for the Kingdom Hall. But I always respected and loved the way that they seemed to follow a lot of rules that meant a lot to them, and I didn't understand them. But over the last, I don't know, 13 years, I've studied Kabbalah and, been with the same Jewish teacher now for 4 years. And that's the other part of where the truth is found. And it's because that's who God chose to share His word and His rules with, this love of His people, the Israelites, through Abraham and Sarah and Isaac and Yaakov and all the descendants and Joseph and all the 12 tribes, you guys. It's those people. Those people were chosen to be an example of God's goodness because that's who He chose. And that's why they're being attacked right now, is because in this upside down, occult, dark world that we're in, where Catholicism and Christianity, radical Islam, people like Kim Jong-un, I don't know what religion they are, but there is deep, deep evil on the world right now, and it's showing. Just say my parents used to say, quit showing your ass. They're showing, and they're doing that because Hashem is bringing us to recognize who they are and just what they're capable of. And what He told me in the afterlife as Prince image, I was just reading this morning about how King David, when he was with one of the kings, he was a little bit afraid and he began drooling on himself and acting like a madman. And Prince person told me that he did that, kind of acted crazy so that he could, because when you try to play Prince, you play yourself. So that because these beasts, these false religion leaders, there's no other word for them but beasts. I think they're not just wild oxen and so forth. They're like beasts in men's and women's skin suits. All you got to do is look at Amalek Harris. Kamala and Amalek, the exact same letters. and that takes you and me recognizing who we are, in our strength of knowing that Hashem lives in us, and not, that strength is not coming from a Jewish man named Jesus Christ who just decided to sell his own version of the story. Everybody, you, me, all holy souls, we were made, we're creations of Hashem. He works through us to bring us to our corrections, to bring us back to him. Now, the world that we live in, Luciferians, the opposite of good, evil, they would have you fall. The taller they are, the harder they fall. The bigger the industry, the bigger the fall. Diddy is huge. He's falling. Who could be next? I'm telling you that this plan that they told me about in the afterlife, coming back to calling the one we know as Prince as some kind of crazy antichrist who the Vatican was keeping secret to keep the information, because I told you he is the creator, and he's able to, and showed me the ways of transformation, that he transforms. And he also, I was able to access and see, it's like time hops. It's hard to, he also showed me himself as like a machine man, and he had been, using prosthetics and fake parts, and not only that, you guys, they would use torture clothing, like clothing that would torture him and electrocute him into dancing the way he did, and having the stamina through D1X human endurance practices that have been done since the 40s by Wolf Kemper, Nazi torturer. See, Nazi is N-A-T-Z-I, and I showed you in the previous video the backwards writing that Nazi, Satan, and New Testament, NT, that they're the same thing, that they want to bring down a certain culture, and that is the American culture, because it's somehow our turn, because again, the bigger they are and the more powerful they are, the harder they fall, and the more fun that is for the evil ones to watch. I was told that we were reincarnated many times over. But my point is, in 2020, when we all went on COVID lockdown, I don't know about you guys, but my whole world changed. My son was out of school. We stayed up 24 hours a day. Sometimes I was up for like 4 days at a time. I've told you I've started studying the Prince investigation and all kinds of things, and it was only then during COVID lockdown that the creator started talking to me, and he said, and I wrote in one of my journals, "Don't you remember it was me you saw there?" And when he said that, my life after death vision of him opening the door came back to me, because again, I didn't remember anything for 10 years. It was just a blank slate. But then anyway, since 2020, all of this information, all of the crazy writing about COVID distancing and COVID-19 and Pope Francis and the Prince Rogers Nelson investigation, all of it was laid into me.